Good morning, all. This is a day that the Lord have made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. We're still dealing with our lesson theme of sidekicks. Well, today we're dealing with Jonathan, the oldest son of King Saul. And when we look at this, culture have it that Jonathan was next in line for the throne after Saul. But because of his humility and he knew who God had appointed, look at what he did. The point of this lesson study is don't let cultural expectation define your role. The culture have it that Jonathan was supposed to be the next individual in line for the throne. But because of his relationship with David, he knew that God had assigned David next in line for the throne. So that's the point. Don't let cultural expectations define your role. This lesson study is coming from 1 Samuel chapter 18, verses 1 through 4, 1 Samuel chapter 19, verses 1 through 4, and 1 Samuel chapter 23, verses 15 through 18. Listen to what Bible Meet Life. Everyone wants to tell you how to live your life. Sound counsel from a godly, respected individual is fine, but all counsel, especially from those immersed in the world, should be carefully weighed in light of God's word. So we have to be careful with that counsel. The first outline, 1 Samuel 18, 1 through 4, and it reads, it says, and it came to pass when he had made an end of speaking unto Saul, that the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. And Saul took him that day and would let him go no more home to his father's home. Then Jonathan and David made a covenant because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan stripped off the robe that he was upon him and gave it to David, and his garment, even to his sword, and to his bow, and to his girdle. Don't stumble over role expectation. Now, after David had finished the battle with Goliath, after he finished that, matter of fact, uh, the commander of the army did not know who David was. King Saul did not know who David was. And so, but Jonathan, after he finished, now it was said that he had Goliath's head in his hand and he had shown it to Saul. And so after he done this, because of his bravery, Jonathan Jonathan developed a close knit relationship with David. After that point, he said he loved him as his own self, and from that point on, again, this verse, even though he didn't know who he was, Saul did not let David go back to his shepherding his father's sheep. But now, the the key of it is Jonathan and David developed a bond, a relationship till they loved each other, and they made a covenant, a commitment to each other. And so now, look at what Jonathan did. He stripped his robe off. He took off his robe and he gave it to David. He took off his sword and gave it to David. He took off his bow and he gave it to David and his girdle and everything. So Jonathan is handing the throne symbolically to David because he knew what was going. It says, "Don't stumble over the road." Jonathan knew his role as this, and so it's important for us to know our role. Don't let traditions define you. We cannot let that define us. Listen to a few of these uh, uh, lasting truth. Rather than do what others expect us to do, we should be sure we do what is right. Secondly, true friendship results among individuals who, when their spirit is knit together in a way that cannot always be explained by rational arguments. And three, having an unselfish disposition towards others is right, proper, and godly. That's just to name a few. And then the second outline, 1 Samuel 19, 1 through 4, it says, "And Saul spake to Jonathan, his son, and to all his servants, that they should kill David. But Jonathan, Saul's son, delighted much in David, and Jonathan told David, saying, Saul my father seeks to kill thee. Now therefore I pray thee, take heed to thyself until the morning, and abide in a secret place, and hide thyself. And I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where thou art, and I will commune with my father of thee, and what I see that I will tell thee. And Jonathan spake good of David unto Saul his father, and said unto him, Let not the king sin against his servant, against David, because he hath not sinned against thee, and because his work have been to thee ward very good. Correct unwarranted accusation. Now, David, Jonathan, and his servant Saul told them that they need to kill David. They need to kill him, and but Jonathan delighted. He found favor with David, and he told him that he's going to protect him. And so you have people that will protect you if you're in right relationship with them. Jonathan and David had a right relationship with each other, and because his father wanted to kill him, he stood in the gap for David. Verse 4 says, And Jonathan spake good of David unto Saul his father, and unto him. He told him, why you want to kill him? All he's did for you is he's done good in your sight. He's done everything that you told him to do. He has been faithful to you, and you want to kill him. And so it's important for us, again, correct unwarranted accusation. When you know somebody is not telling the truth about somebody that you need to stop them at that point. No, that's not true. You're not telling the truth about that. And so, but you have to stand up. But real friends do that. And so let's look at some some lasting truths. Sometimes the challenge to be loyal may pit us against two things that could be argued as right or worthy of our attention, and of which supporters on both sides have expectations. In difficult situations that have potential to be explosive, we need to act with wisdom rather than might, with reason rather than arguments. And thirdly, ultimately, in making decisions, we must determine what is right in the Lord and best represents and stand against sinful behavior. The third outline, the third outline, 1 Samuel 23:15 through 18. It says, and David saw Saul was coming out to seek his life, and David was in the wilderness of Ziph in a wood. And Jonathan, Saul's son, arose and went to David into the woods and strengthened his hand in God and said unto him, fear not, for the hand of Saul my father shall not find thee, and thou shalt be king over Israel, and I shall be next unto thee, and that also Saul my father knoweth. And they made a covenant before God the Lord, and David abode in the woods, and Jonathan went home. See your role from God's perspective. Jonathan knew that David was next in line for the throne, and so Jonathan protected David. He protected David. It says it says in verse 17, it says, uh, and he said unto him, fear not, for the hand of Saul my father shall not find thee, and that also Saul my father uh, for thee, and thou shalt be king over Israel, and I shall be next unto thee, and that also Saul my father knows. Saul know that. He knows that David is next in line for the throne. And so we got to know our role. We got to know what it is that God has for us, and then we go from there. Listen to some last things. One, friends encourage one another, especially during the most difficult times. Encourage. The greatest encouragement is to assure one another of the power and presence of the Lord. And God's purpose and plan will be accomplished. The world may expect us to claim our rights. The way of the Lord is humility. Remember, don't let cultural expectations define you. Don't let it. If you know God has something in plan for your friend, talk about it. Tell them that it's important for us to do this. Remember, one, remember that we don't need to stumble over our role. We need to know our role as God has planned it for us. Secondly, we we must correct unwarranted accusations, and we must also we must also see your role from God's perspective. And so when we do that, Jonathan is a perfect example of a friend, a real friend, and one who knew his role, and he played it well. And so as God leads us, we are to be led by or be able to lead one another. Until next time, May God richly bless you, my beloved.